I do coach a lot of my son's youth teams, and I have been since for the past year. And I'm not trying to my own horn or nothing, but I do get congratulated on the work that I do with showing them the fundamentals in each game because that's all I can do. You know what I'm saying? A lot of even at that age, coaches are not telling these kids this is where a two hole is, this is where a four hole is, this is where the six hole, the seven hole, the A gap, B gap. They're just telling them, here, take the ball and run that way and go to the touchdown. Take the ball and run that way and go score. Like, you know what I mean? And I hate to say it because it takes away from guys who really take their time out because you're really not making a big bank being an AAU coach. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that all AAU coaches out there are not developing because there's a lot of AAU coaches out there that are developing talent, especially the ones that are not getting the top talent on their teams. They have no choice but to develop talent to even compete with these other teams. You know what I'm saying? So it's unfortunate, but it's definitely something that we wanted to bring to light here on the fans' point of view because not there's a conversation out there about it, but it's not being had enough. You know what I mean? And you got anything you want to add on this, bro? I see LMV in the building. Thanks for stopping through. Make sure y'all sharing y'all like the show.
Yeah, it reminds me of Coach Carter, the movie when it came out, and Samuel L. Jackson's in the gym, and for the first couple of practices, it was movement without the basketball, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can't, based on this current AAU structure, I don't even see a situation where they would even begin any type of practice, which according to Steve Kerr, they're not even having many practices at all, where you would even learn how to move without the basketball, right? Because you got a lot of guys that are very ball dominant, and it doesn't help. But hopefully, maybe some type of maybe something will happen, moving forward. Maybe someone will maybe step in and say maybe we need to kind of tone this back a little bit because some of the best players in the NBA, LeBron, Carmelo, they've played on AAU teams, so it's not like you can't get any type of skills, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I think right now it's just becoming so um, glamorized now that is more so of like, hey, look, as long as I feel like I can put the ball in the basket, I don't necessarily have to defend. I don't necessarily have to understand how to get my teammate open. I don't have to do any of that because
That's
I'm here for
unfortunate.
me. I'm here
Mm-hmm.
for me, and that's just the way it is. But
Yeah.
that's all
Sad,
I can
man.
say about
True.
that.
Sad but true, bro. Sad but true. Way to break that down. Yo, man. So we about to get into the college football playoff expansion and what we think the format should be, what the formats lead into. I know a lot of people don't is not gonna like what they want to hear, but look, I put the link to the chat up in there. I put the link in the chat to the show. You could come on. You ain't gotta show your face. You can have audios like a call in, if you will. You know what I'm saying? If you want to input on anything we got to say going on the show. Look, man, it's leaning towards this way, bro. And this is the breakdown that we kind of talked about. If y'all can see this going on here, they're kind of being the NFC side and the AFC side of the bracket, right? Which each bowl game being played out there in college football, for example. I know a lot of people do not want to hear about, oh, there's too many games, but there's going to be a lot more games, especially after they see how these 12 bowl, in my opinion, this is just my opinion. My opinion. Let me say that. Me speculating. Let me put that out there. Me speculating, in my opinion, I believe that we're moving towards where there's going to be a 20 or more bowl games out there being played, especially once they see how much revenue this 12-team playoff brings to this sport and college football. So I took the liberty out of not only just talking about this with y'all, but giving y'all a visual of this and breaking it down. So while I'm going along, so if you can see on your screen from left to right how I broke this down, like say for instance, okay, I wrote down top. So I think there's what 12 bowl games. Let me count these: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12. So that means 24 teams will be in. I think we're going towards this way, y'all. Whether y'all want to believe it or not, I believe it's going this way because the revenue is going to have to play with this. So just hear me out and follow along if you can. Now, you got, for instance, the guaranteed rate bowl. You know what I'm saying? And you got the first responder bowl. The winner of that game would go on and play like the Armed Forces Bowl. Now, I'm not saying that these bowls will swap because the revenue, obviously, right? Then you got like the Quick Lane Bowl, the New Mexico Bowl. The winner of that bowl would play the famous Idaho Bowl game, and so forth and so on. As y'all can see, you know what I mean? And I broke that down, but you still would have your big three, which was what your New Year's Six would be, the what Chick-fil-A, Cotton Bowl, and the Orange Bowl. You know, I don't think that they're moving nowhere. They always will forever be your New Year's Six bowls games, but you will start having to be playing bowl games sooner. Then you have your Rose Bowl, your Sugar Bowl, and then that will lead to the national championship. Now, this is definitely, without a doubt, we're definitely leaning towards this era because of us being spoiled. We're spoiled fans, you know what I'm saying? The way that college football has taken off and the revenue that is in the sport alone, y'all, they're banking big bucks off of this sport. Now, annually, each team in college sports football per year annually is making somewhere between 31.9 million annually per school. That's a lot of bank. ESPN alone has done a deal with college football for $270 million to televise. We're not always talking other teams and something else. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're not talking all that other stuff. Okay. We're not. Okay. Now you got Fox still. I'm sure there'd be other, Fubo TV. I think they had something with the app. There's a lot of other networks at play to come in here with revenue and money that's going to have to do with these teams in the way that this college football expansion is going to happen. Especially after we see the 13th team should have been right there in with the 12th team that's picked. I can guarantee we're going to see that this year. For some weird reason, I have a strong feeling that we're going to see a lot of two-loss, teams going into the college football playoffs. And I don't think that there's going to be an undefeated team going into the college football playoff this year. That's just what I believe, from seeing everybody on paper right now. The game ain't played on there, but still, and that's why I had to give y'all a visual on what I was talking about. You know what I mean? So we'll keep on going. And yes, like when you got the Big Ten is leading in by far. The Big Ten is leading by far. And this the latest I can give y'all from 2002 because it's set and final of what been made. 2024 has not been came out yet. 2023s, I'm sorry, but I got 2022s pulled up right here from y'all right now. So the Power 5 conference revenue for 2022, okay, leading into the 23 or whatever you want to put that. The Big Ten revenue, y'all, 845 million. The SEC 802 million. ACC 617 million. Pac-12, it's about dollars. We know we found that out this year. It's all about dollars. The Pac-12 580 million. The Big 12 480 million. And we talking in revenue from pretty much from TV, y'all. Like these is like they bringing in a lot of bank. CBS Sports, like what I mean. This is from CBS Sports, y'all. The list that I'm giving y'all. This ain't me giving y'all some bullshit. This is a list that CBS Sports had put out, and I'm just giving y'all the information off that. Now, I'm gonna let my co-host go ahead and explain his bracket, and I'm gonna put his bracket up on this screen too. Then we'll just keep on going back and forth about these brackets and where we believe the college football expansion is going to. All right. So I'm gonna let you go ahead, bro. I'm gonna pull up your bracket for you the way that you were talking about it. All right. There you go.
So, from this particular perspective, me and Truckin initially, his idea was to have these bowl games occur at the end of the season, similar to like as you have it pulled up, the New Mexico Bowl, DirecTV Holiday Bowl. You have those particular games played at the end of the season.
Mm-hmm.
And my mindset was that I feel like maybe these bowl games should be played before the season. And so essentially, well, the first couple of games of the season, and the winners of those particular bowl games, then you can place them, in the correct seeding. A particular example I'll start with is because the bowl tie-ins and affiliations are not going to change; they're
Hey,
still going to
hey,
be the
bro.
same.
Hey, Shad. Can I interrupt real quick? I don't do this to you much, but
What's up?
I forgot to add in that when you say that it's a participation trophy, and I see now in the comments somewhere, I believe Miss Katie say that. That's the main reason of this. Every bowl game will mean something, and every bowl game will be watched, guaranteed. If it led up, if every bowl game was like this, it would definitely be watched, and it would definitely mean something more to watch. Players wouldn't hold out. You know what I mean? I think this would keep players from holding out in it. But we'll get all into that, bro. We'll get all into that after you go ahead. You know what I mean? And you explain with the way and your format into this. You know what I'm saying? I'll break it down.
Yeah. So, for example, starting with Miami, the first game of the season that we have is against Florida State. I mean, not Florida State, but the University of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So, based on ACC tie-ins, that would either be the ReliaQuest Bowl game or the Bowl game, Bowl game, Ticketmaster Birmingham Bowl, or the Serve Pro First Responder Bowl. Now, to tie into what you were saying about the guys not opting out, you're not opting out a game that is the first or second game of the season.
Facts.
Um, Wisconsin, which is another team that I'm going to follow this year because our former quarterback is playing there. The third game of the season, they're playing the University of Alabama, and the University of Alabama is going to Wisconsin. So based on bowl tie-ins, essentially you have the Cheez-It Bowl being played in the third week of the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's not at a designated location in terms of it's somewhere else, but it's there. And the reason that I like this particular um, format
Format. Mm-hmm.
is because what you're doing is you know that you're getting out of conference matchups. And with the playoff being what the playoff is, strength of schedule probably moves to the front of the list in terms of how the selection committee is going to go. So the selection committee, which I think they may actually start to meet earlier,
Right.
um, but that becomes a big bowl game because you got two matchups. You got the ad dollars that are going to be there. You're going to have probably
Big.
a good TV slot for that game to be played, and people are not going to be able to avoid it. And I think
No,
that's
you're
just
not.
I think that's what's going to be so important about it.
Yeah.
And to me, I think that's the remedy to this bowl game issue is that you do that, and then, as you say, we move forward, we get the initial, and then we kind of move on towards the conference championships and things like that. But I do agree
Ooh.
with you that I do think it's going to expand past 12 teams. But I do think that some of these bowl games have to be played during the season because people are, these businesses, they're not in the business to lose money.
That's what
And
it
so I
is.
So I think when you are talking about maximizing your dollars, I think they have to look at it because the Chick-fil-A Kickoff Classic, right, which is a game that the SEC, they rotate. The
Mm-hmm.
SEC team plays an out-of-conference team. I think they have it on lock, right? A lot of these week zero games that are not necessarily tied to any of these additional bowl games.
That's how
And to
you.
be honest with you, because I think you did the count, it's 43 bowl games in total. I think
Uh-huh.
what's going to end up happening is there's going to have to be a lot more collaboration on these particular bowl games to kind of push the products. And essentially, you could have some week one matchups or some week zero matchups where you have a lot of commercials and things like that because a lot of people watch college football because there's no NFL. And you can maybe have like a situation like the NFL Super Bowl where you have a lot of commercials just pumping
Yeah.
out, pumping out, pumping out. So I kind of look at it like that. But talk to me.
Especially when you first beginning the season, like, and you so excited because we done waited. Oh, we done seen the spring games, and we going into the fall, and we hyped about the season, and you like the week zero matchup. You got Colorado playing the Hurricanes and such in the Chick-fil-A Bowl, you know what I mean, or in the Orange, you know what I'm saying? You're gonna watch that game. You're gonna watch that bowl game. Now these bowl games mean something to the university, to us. You know what I'm saying? Because let's be honest, unless your team is in that bowl game, you're probably not watching it. You're probably not going to watch it. You know what I'm saying? And I get it. And it does feel like a participation trophy because you get all these players opting out either. And I understand some of these players going into the draft opting out, but still like playing in that bowl game, that used to mean something to NFL scouts. Watching a college player playing that bowl game used to mean something. Okay, you're playing for your school. It's just so much to that. And I guess you probably wouldn't understand unless you really like play competitive sports and how, you know what I mean, and how much that feels to get out there and play that game and that competition at that level for all the millions of people watching and viewing. Like, people's different and you want to see that, because when it's crunch time, will this player perform? I would most definitely want to see that. And the money is already there. Like the money is already there, and it's already going in that type of way. And it's unfortunate, but look, the best way that we can get this to stick in is to come up with some kind of format that's gonna have a lot of people watching. And I like the way that you said that, bro. Now, what I was saying on this and what I was speaking on the whole, college football thing is like just playing these during the season, starting the season earlier, ending the season earlier. Okay, so
Yeah.
starting these bowl games will have to be back in what, November, right? So November, December would be bowl games, or before, you know what I mean? November, December be bowl games. You'll still have the New Year's Six. You still will have your New Year's Six, but the college, of course, your conference championship game will have to be played earlier. But that is my big thing. And the way that you spoke on that is perfect. I think that you can't avoid that. Week zero, you can't avoid a bowl game being played, especially one of these bowl games that is just out there now. I tried to put some popular bowl games up there, you know what I'm saying? So because I don't think that, because some, like you said, some people are going to have to collaborate to get in these bowl games. And I'm telling you, once they see the revenue from these 12 bowl games, bro, they are going to be fighting to be one of the top 12 bowl games unless they expand it. And I think they're going to expand it. And of course, the scapegoat would be the fans. Because who don't want to see more college football? And that's gonna mean something for a trophy. You know what I mean? Now the Idaho Bowl means something. You know what I'm saying? Now the New Orleans Bowl means something. The Fenway Bowl means something. The Texas Bowl means something. I mean, they used to back then, but now, then we went through a drought where it didn't seem like anything. But now it's going to mean something. And the revenue alone is going to want to put everybody up there. They're going to be fighting and clawing to get to one of those 12 spots. Could you imagine, bro, what they're going to see when that starts? Because everybody going to be like, oh, I ain't watching. The other bowl games probably ain't going to do numbers. But I believe the numbers will stay consistent in the format and the way that we're talking about. You know what I mean? Putting more teams out there, starting the bowl games earlier, playing them either during season. Because if you're going to keep all 43 bowl games, you're going to have to play some during the season. That's a fact. That's without a doubt. We did the count on this, and y'all, it's like 43. I think it might have been like 46 there, but I think it was 43. So we broke that down in half. And we said, fuck it. And I was like, fuck it. You know what I mean? You might as well just play the top 25. You might as well just let the top 25 go at it. Every bowl game means something, and y'all lead up to the national championship game. Cause I think look, in my opinion, I think it'll work. We leaning towards that way, y'all. People were saying they didn't want players to get paid because it was going to change the way that players were. That's happening already. Now you're seeing these young men not be developed the way that they should in some cases, because they're chasing the bag instead of wanting to be there to learn more under a great coach. Like some of these players are already with great coaches or have great development teams there at the college they were at, but they're leaving because somebody wanted to give them a Dodge Ram instead of a Honda Accord. You know what I'm saying? Like it is what it is. It
Yeah.
is what it is. And it's the truth.
Oh yeah.
It's the truth out there. You know what I mean? That's what we're seeing going on now. And then it's like people don't want to hear about the contracts and stuff. But yeah, if you really look at it in a way, a scholarship is a contract. You know what I'm saying? But now at least you can lock down your education, or and then now and especially for these universities looking at their way from their point of view, or from like a athletic director's point of view, you probably want to lock down your talent for X amount of years so they're not going somewhere else. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. We leaning in that way, and it's already. I'm sure it's being done behind closed doors, something that we're not seeing. But I don't know. We kind of looking ahead here, and maybe jumping the gun a little bit, but this is most definitely without a doubt going to come into fruition. So, I'm gonna look and see some comments real quick, bro. While you want to add in on this real quick, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go ahead and drop and look at some comments. He said, Mr. Overdose out here, we got him saying, he said, that is a good point as well. The last team standing prior to March Madness get in. So let them play. That's how I feel. I mean, that's how I feel, and we got Katie Allman also jumping in here saying something. She said, look at the NFL playoffs in the 56 Super Bowls. A wild card team hasn't won it once. The more you expand, the more teams will be there without snowball's chance in hell winning a natty. And you could be that. You could. Hey, look. One thing I learned from football and basketball, from sports, competitive sports, though, and I like about it, I believe my Pittsburgh Steelers, we won a Super Bowl with being a wild card team. It was Jerome Bettis's last year. We snuck into the playoffs and we won a Super Bowl that year. It was Ben Roethlisberger's second year. We barely got in the playoffs, got in as a wild card, and we definitely won the Super Bowl. Uh, when you got a team who's hot and they just got in to be bowl eligible, but now in this playoff system, you got to be ranked in the playoff system that we're speaking on in the future. You would have to be ranked at least in the top 22, 24. You got to be one of the top 25 teams to be even getting in the college football playoff, right? If that team is going in hot and they went on a winning streak for the last, I don't know, they won their last 8 games, say they won their last 8 games, that team is clicking, they finally got it together. That is a dangerous football team to me. A team that just caught fire and that and they learned each other, got each other down to a science, and they're coming in hot. That is a team that's more dangerous than the team who's already been sitting at on the top, undefeated, thinking that can't nobody get with them. And I definitely believe somebody gonna get smacked in the mouth under this new playoff system. We're definitely gonna see upsets. And the same thing with college basketball, the way that that's going. If you look at college basketball right now and the way that bracket is, there's no undefeated basketball teams out there in college basketball. And that's because of the way that the transfer portal has been working for basketball and all college sports. Teams are starting to be even now because you're not stacking your roster with 4 and 5 star talent now. That talent wants to go somewhere else and play now. You can't just hold them there for however long you want to now, because of a scholarship. Now anybody, you can go anywhere and play. And that's one of the beautiful things about the transfer portal and the NIL and you know what I'm saying. But also there's their negatives to it. But that's one of the beautiful things with that. You don't know who's gonna win the Natty last year, and that's a fact. UConn took it last year, and I believe UConn had some losses before they went into the tournament. They wasn't even the tournament favorite. But I believe that the group of five should have their own. Like how you got there's a what we got the you got the NCAA tournament and then you got the NIL tournament or whatever that is, right? There's two basketball tournaments, correct? Correct me if I'm wrong now out there, y'all. There's two different basketball tournaments, right? There's like an
Yep.
NIL tournament and then there's an NCAA basketball tournament. They should do the same thing with college football. Take some. There's 43 bowl games. They can do that too. Like I said, I only put what 25. The NIT. Thank you, Mr. Overdose. The NIT tournament. They should do that with the group of five and with the power five. The group of five should have their Oregon and Liberty should never ever be matched up ever, ever. That shouldn't happen because you know that's going to be a blowout. But I tell you what, I seen a good ass football game when I seen who was it? The Grizzlies. I think North Dakota was it. I don't think it was North Dakota, South Dakota State, and I want to say where the Montana. That's who it was, Montana. They was playing for that division's championship. That was a good football game. I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. That was a good ass football game. You know what I'm saying? When you got the group of five grouped up in their own group and they're going at it in their own, for their own bowl games up until for their championship, a group of five championship, that will give us good sports all around. And I think that everybody, like, you're going to watch good football. We don't care who's playing. We don't care if it was the backyard boogie downs versus the junkyard tarps. You know what I'm saying? We going to watch it if it's a good football game or if it's competitive. I mean, at least I would. If it's a competitive, good game, we want to watch it. You know what I mean? You want to keep adding on, bro? Because you know what I mean? I'm going on a rant here real quick. Yeah, my
No,
tangent,
no,
bro.
no, no, no. Like I said, you cooking, you cooking. No, but to kind of go back to Katie's, comment, that was my mindset initially when this was first proposed that they were going to do an expansion, right? But as you get as more information comes along, you kind of change your mindset about it. And the new information is the transfer portal, right? So I look at it from this particular standpoint. The national championship and just this whole playoff thing is really been about matchups, and that's what it's always kind of been about. It's been about matchups.
Mm-hmm.
Katie spoke about, you have teams that may not have a snowball chance of hell of winning, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. But it's not a 0% chance, right? And the
Mm-hmm.
reason I say that is because it's matchups, right? Um, in a 12 team scenario, you could have a situation where let's just take this year for instance, right? Obviously, the
Yep.
University of Michigan won the game, won a national title. They beat the University of Washington. If you expand this out to a 12 team, situation, which is what we're going to get in the future, that could be a situation where a team that has no business winning the national championship actually wins the national championship based on matchups that they have had, leading up to that particular game. And so this may not be the most popular opinion, but I feel like if we are dating back to 2000, I think what we have gotten in terms of a result, I think in the terms of result, I think we may have gotten maybe the most talented team may have won the game based on the matchup. But I
Mm-hmm.
don't really think it's been too many instances in which after the national championship game, you look and say, okay, those were the two best teams in all of college football. I don't think it's been too many instances in which that has been the end result of a lot of these games. And if you just give me a second here, I wanna just kind of bring up, some games.
Go ahead.
You go back to the 2005 national championship game between USC and the University of Texas. Many people feel like it's the greatest collegiate football game ever played, at least especially in the modern era. After that game, there was no doubt that USC and Texas were the two best teams in the country, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you go back to 2001. My Miami Hurricanes played the University of Nebraska. We beat the University of Nebraska 37 to 14. Now, obviously, the '01 Miami team is considered the greatest college team of all time. But after that game, who's going to sit up there and say, well, Miami played the second best team in the country in the University of Nebraska? I don't think many people are going to say that because that's a very forgettable team, right? In many aspects. There are a couple of more games like that where that has been maybe the end result. If you go back to 2012, Alabama beat Notre Dame 42-14. Now, many people that particular year, because I remember that season very vividly, the most people said the national championship game was actually the SEC championship game, in which Alabama played the University of Georgia, and Georgia
Mhm.
just simply ran out of time. They were driving, but they ran out of time.
Remember that.
Alabama rolls in there, they run over Notre Dame. So most people will look and say, we don't know if Alabama was the best team. They just happened to match up against a weaker team. Most people felt like if they rematched Georgia, Georgia probably would have won. But
Mm-hmm.
that's but like I say, it's just not that many instances in which you get the two best teams actually playing. So to kind of go back to what Katie said, they may not have a snowball's chance, in grand scheme. But I don't think anything is a 0%. I don't think anything is 0%. But you can have a situation where a team can just, as you say, Chubb,
Mm-hmm.
they're hot
All right.
and they just run into the correct matchups and they win the national championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Even going back to what it was, the national championship game where we had Georgia playing the University, playing TCU. Complete another mismatch.
Mm-hmm.
But TCU was able to get in that game because of a matchup that they had. Most people feel like, hey, if they would have played Ohio State or Georgia in the first round, they wouldn't have made it. But they played the University of Michigan, which they just had their number.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I'm all for it,
All
right?
right.
I'm not, maybe, I know you're saying top 25, but I think really, truly, and honestly, I think it's really only 8 really good teams every year. And I think maybe the four additional teams kind of fall into that category of what you were speaking about. If they get hot and maybe they can make a run,
You're right.
but I don't really see. I mean, it may expand past 12. I don't want it to expand past 12
All
because
right.
even with the advent of the transfer portal, I don't necessarily see that many people just going to some of those lesser programs. And I'll say this in closing, I'll hand it back over to you because you spoke about, maybe the G5 having their own, situation.
All right.
In some instances, I agree, but then in some instances, I don't necessarily agree because one of the most um, dominant G5 programs, at least in the modern era, was Boise State. Boise State would, schedule a first game against some very tough teams. Boise State was a team that, beat a very, very good University of Georgia team, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some of these G5 programs, I take like SMU for instance, right? Not to get too long-winded. SMU was a program that many people said that the reason that they were not able to make it to the Big 12 or get into the Big 12 is because of the powers that Texas and Oklahoma had and the influence that they
Okay.
had, and they were able to keep them there. Some people may feel the same way about UCF. So I think some G5 programs they have all of the same amenities as some P5 programs,
I get that.
but you have certain situations where someone may wield a little bit more power and it hurts them. Now, obviously,
So
this isn't the case for all G5s. It's just a select few.
so let me ask you this question here, bro. Do you think that you're gonna get more if G5 had their own thing, right? Do you think you would get more competitive, good games, G5 playing G5 or G5 playing Power Five?
Again, I think that's based on matchups, right? I don't think any G5 team can stand in front of the University of Georgia or the University of Alabama or the University of Texas in it when all the chips are on the table. But at the same time, you have some G5 programs that are just they are literally P5 programs
Mm-hmm.
in a G5 costume, right?
Right.
You take like a team like a James Madison. They just got up to the G5, and I think they've only lost what maybe 5 games in the last 2 years, if that many.
If that,
Um,
I think, yeah, if that,
yeah,
you're right
yeah,
on
and
that one.
so Yeah, and so they've gotten into I think it's just about. I think a lot of that stuff is based on location as well. Like you take like I say, going back to SMU again, they're in a great location. They can attract
Mhm.
some, which even I mean, but they're not G5 anymore. They're going to the ACC. But tell that the University of Houston, right? They're still
Mhm.
no. Houston just went to the Big 12.
Yeah, they're in the Big 12.
Um, let me
SMU's in the
see.
ACC now.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Boise's in the Mountain West.
Yeah. So I mean, so just say you got a P5 team. I mean, a G5 team that's in a good location, right? Um, which they'll probably get swallowed up by a P5. But let's just say, just hypothetically speaking, right?
Hmm.
If you got a G5 team, all right, like FAU for instance, right? FAU is in Florida, they're in Boca
Hmm.
Raton, right? Um, a school like that with so much talent in the state of Florida and with so many maybe P5 defections,
Right.
guys going back down to that level, that could be a team that could get enough talent together to make a run at a what I would say a tier 2 P5 program, right? I think they could make
Hmm.
a run. I think it could be an interesting game because I watched a bowl game. It was Florida State versus Northern Illinois. This was, I think the maybe it was I think it may have been the 2015 season, right? They played Northern Illinois in a bowl game, right? They had a really good quarterback and stuff. They played
Hmm.
them tough. A couple of years before that, you had a Louisville team. I believe this was 2012. They ended up playing the University of Florida in a bowl game. Louisville was in the Big East, which was it wasn't a it was Big East at
Wasn't a
that time was kind of
powerhouse.
yeah, but yeah, Big East was kind of just the like a G5, right? But
Kinda.
Louisville beat. This was a Teddy Bridgewater team, so that's why I'm saying you know in Florida at that time probably was dipping into a tier 2. They had been tier 1, so I think it just really depends on where these schools are located and the type of boosters and type of money that they have. So, but like again, not to push back completely on what you're
I
bringing
get
up,
what you're saying. Make the
I think they're
matchups
just a
good, man.
select. Yeah, I think it's just a select few of G5 schools that you
Back and
actually
battle.
can put in these games,
Hmm.
and they don't look completely overmatched. But I agree
Yeah,
wholeheartedly with you. Oregon versus Liberty, that's not a
that
game
should never
because
happen.
Oregon is tier 1. I
Yeah,
don't think any G5 team can beat a
yeah,
tier 1 P5 team. I don't think
yeah.
so.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Let's you know what I mean? If they not gonna group them up at their own bracket, like an NIT, at least at least go ahead and make the matchups good. And like you keep harping on the piggyback what you saying, bro. It's all about the matchups, the matchups. Make good matchups. If you're gonna give a group 5 team versus a P5 team, like do it evenly, man. Do it good, not Oregon and Liberty. Now Liberty didn't lose no games, they only lost one. We know Oregon lost twice to some teams, so they was right there, and that bowl game should have never happened. Like, period. Not even if you looked on paper, but and I do get what you're saying. Some of these group of 5 teams can hang with the power 5 teams if their depth chart. But when you start going into the depth, the second, third, backup, second string, third string, that is where the power 5 teams take over these group of 5 teams is by depth. You know what I'm saying? They can't last them. They can't outlast with these power 5 teams. You know what I'm saying? But let's just make these matchups better. You know what I'm saying? Don't put any bowl game for any bowl game. But like I'm saying, like you said, bro, we got a 12 teamer out there right now. And the only reason why I strongly believe, bro, that we are moving towards adding more teams, and I'm gonna say it again, it's all about these dollars to these universities, like and to these sponsors, man. Like, they're already trying to push us fans out. You know what I'm saying? And I have one place where we can come and give our opinions, the way we know fans' point of view here, a safe space for us fans to still talk sports, because we pay tickets. We pay a lot of these players' wages, you know what I'm saying? Period, point blank. No matter how you want to look at it, just to sum it all up shortly. But they're trying to push us out by getting these sponsors. You know what I'm saying? They sponsoring the stadiums. Hell, I can guarantee you they probably want to name the damn grass after a mowing company. They probably want to get a damn, you know what I'm saying? No, for real, bro. You'd be
Yeah, I know
surprised
what
out.
you mean. I
You
know
know what
what
I'm
you mean.
saying? Like the turf is sponsored by Home Depot. The seats is sponsored by Lazy Boy. You know what I'm saying? Like anything that they can sell, they're selling. And y'all have to pay attention. And I'm seeing that going on with my Steelers, for example. We hired the guy FedEx. We hired his son. He runs FedEx. Acrisure Stadium. Why would we change it from Hines to Acrisure? They're selling this. It's already happening. And I know I'm talking pro football, but this is just the way that they're capitalizing on this. And once they see, I said all of that just to say once again that once they see how much revenue the top 12 teams make in those bowl games, these other people are going to want to either, like you said, either they're going to have to collaborate if the expansion don't happen, or they're going to be wanting to push for an expansion because they're going to see how much revenue, how much more we're paying attention, and how many viewers is watching the 12 team playoff. You know what I mean? Because look, I know you're not a huge March Madness fan, but a lot of people watch the tournament, bro. They put it on their damn phones. You know what I'm saying? Like you could watch the games on your phone, like you watching the first four, no matter who it is, and you watching it through. If you're a basketball fan, and if any basketball fans is out there, please get in the comments and let us know. Do you watch all of the tournament? And I would say almost, yeah, you probably do. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a huge basketball head, but yes, I watch the tournament. It's good games. You never know. You know what I'm saying? Um, so the same thing with like this, some people tease and say, "Oh, you trying to tournament style to college football?" No, but the sponsors is going to want in. They're going to have to collaborate. Soon you're going to be seeing RL Carriers Las Vegas LA Bowl or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it is what it is. Like no, like and Katie Almond, just to answer your question, we don't care about revenue. We don't care about that. You know what I'm saying? We care about our teams winning, losing, whatever. You know what I'm saying? We don't too much get caught up into that. But it is a business now. College football, y'all, as we know it, has become a business. The minute that NIL has gotten approved name, image, and likeness, whether you want to look at it that way or not, each student that has an NIL deal or whatever is pretty much an employee at their said university. Period. They are an employee at that university. They're making that bread, they're making that money. And in a way, I'm happy with that, y'all. I mean, look, we just recently seen another interview with let's say Johnny Manziel. You know what I'm saying? All the millions of dollars Texas A&M made off his back. Now he made his money on the side. You know, he didn't get things taken away from him like Reggie Bush did, but we'll say that for another day. But you know, he is advocating for Reggie though. But these universities been making millions of dollars off these athletes back for years. Now these athletes have a chance to get some of that bread, and it's always been about the bottom line and dollars. It's always been about that. That has a lot to play with it. We just seen that literally happen before our eyes this year, um, with the whole Florida thing or whatever. We seen it happen. Period. That wasn't going to be a good matchup, and we don't in the revenue and this and that. All that had to do with money. Believe that or not, that's money. We talking money, and it comes into play with everything we do in life, and no matter how you want to look at it. But that's what I believe is going to push the envelope for an expansion. Now I don't know when it's going to happen, and I hope it don't happen because I think 12 is more than enough to watch. But I wouldn't be mad that it happened because it's not going to stop me from watching college football. Now, can I get everybody out there telling me yes or no in the chat? Would you still watch college football if it expanded to the top 25? Would you still continue on watching? There's 43 bowl games, y'all. 43. Would you continue on watching college football if it expanded to the top 25 teams being in the playoffs? I just want to ask that question. You know what I mean? It said, now Mr. Overdose said, Shay, he said, look at the proposal now with how the compensation is shaken out for the release of NCAA 2025. That's a fact. That's a fact, yo. That's big bread out there. I mean, it's the revenue at the end of the day. It is. It has a big factor to do with that. And once they, I'm telling you, because I mean, like, if you running that, you gonna see that. You gonna be like, man, they making bank. And we don't watch, and we don't get the eyes. We don't watch all them bowl games. But this is definitely a way. Either the way Shad said it's gonna happen. You playing a bowl game in week 0, you gotta watch it. And I don't care what that is. That can be the, I don't know, the top table bowl. You gonna watch it because it's the beginning of college football. It's the very first college football game. If that's a bowl game, you're watching it because you're pretty much forced to, but you're gonna watch it because you've been waiting this long to watch college football. You know what I mean? And then when it's leading towards the championship, the top 25. And how many times have we seen, even though it happens earlier in the season and not that late in the season, but we have seen a number 17 team take down the number 5 team. It don't happen that often, but I think it's more than likely to happen now with these teams and these players and talent being spread across college football. I think that's more likely to happen now, to see a number 17 ranked team take down a top 5 team. I think we can see something like that, y'all. Like, I don't think that's far fetched now. As much as it would have been, let's say, what, 7-8 years ago, as of right now, today, 2024, I don't think that that's far fetched at all. What you think about that, bro? What do you think about that?
I mean, you know what? Because I know you say that I sell you on
Mm-hmm.
things, the Syracuse thing, but you literally just sold me on letting the top 25 teams duke it out, because that coincides with exactly what kind of what I just was talking about, in which you have matchups in which you have maybe the most talented team winning, but we don't necessarily know if you're the best team. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like you say, if you extend it out to the top 25 teams based on all of these numerous ranking services, I do think that you could have better football. I think that more than likely that would shorten the season in many aspects. I think it would shorten the season because
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of things that some of these schools have been fighting for, especially these conferences, they were fighting for having 9 conference games so they wouldn't have so many out of conference games. So I think you would essentially roll that back. But the only thing that I would have to say about that, and the only hurdle, because obviously we're speaking hypothetically,
Right.
is how many games in season would they have to play? Because if we're talking about 25 teams playing for these particular bowl games, right? The top 25 teams playing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how many games would they what is the point in the season where you say, okay, well, fine, we got the top 25, we think these are the top 25 teams? Because I think what it does, to go back to what you were saying about a team being hot, let's say for instance, a Syracuse, right? Let's say
Mm-hmm.
Syracuse is at 28 and they probably are playing hot, right? But they want to get an opportunity to play in that particular game. And obviously, I'm not with the participation Olympics,
Right. Yeah,
whatsoever.
I hear
But
you,
how
bro.
many? But how many games would they have to play in the season, uh, to for us to say, okay, these are the top 25 teams? What I'm asking that question again,
Well, well,
because they
look,
already played
we
the
all college
12,
football. We all lovers of football, right, y'all? How many games do pro football play? They playing 18 games now.
18.
So essentially, you don't really have to add. You only have to add what, 2 to 3 more games on to their season. And look, and then we complain, hypothetically speaking, we add 2 to 3 more games onto their season. We get more college football, what we love, right? Right. And you can't argue with that. You know what I'm saying? 2 3 more games played, because you finish out what they play 12 games. They play 12. They're usually done with their season. I
First of
think you
November,
started
right?
earlier. I think you started earlier, right? I think
Okay.
you started in August. I think August 1st. You know what I mean? No later. You got to start in August, right? And Just add on a couple games, or you know what? Yeah, you're gonna have to start in November. You would have to leave for real, bro. We would have to start in November in order for this to happen. If the top 25 teams are playing, you would have to start this in November, December, and then you'll still have your New Year's six. Take a bye week off or two. You know what I'm saying? The New Year's six would be the Peach Bowl, Cotton Bowl, and the Orange Bowl. All right, that's your New Year's six teams right there. And then in January, you would be playing 5 games in January. So essentially, you'd be playing out of the 24 games, you'd be playing 19 from November and December, and then you'll play your 5 in the New Year. Well, 6 because the Peach Bowl, Cotton Bowl, Orange Bowl, Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, and then the national championship. That's it. Um, 25 teams is a whole lot, but I do think that they're definitely going to expand it. Now, I don't know if they'll go to top 25, but I'm saying like if you're going to add more, then why not? Like, you know what I'm saying? I'm just hypothetically speaking, like why not? 25 is, you know what I'm saying? It's the top 25. You know, you got hot late, and just go ahead and roll with it. But realistically speaking, yeah, it may be cut down about 18, but you got to have a even number. Now, when I kept doing the research, you can't go odd number of games when you're doing this. It has when you
Somebody got
first
the bye
start the
week.
tournament. When you first starting off the tournament, it has to be an even number of games. What I'm saying here, all right,
Yeah,
it has
yeah,
to be
somebody
that
got the
way.
bye week. Yeah, I agree. I think I'm with you. I think the season would have to start maybe in August or maybe at the end of July, to be honest, because I don't, because what ends up happening is NFL
Hmm.
is the biggest sport in America. So no one's gonna care about college football, even if you're a diehard fan. You
So
still
no
got a
bye
lot of
week.
people that, yeah, you're gonna have a lot of people that are gonna be um, concerned more so with the NFL. And a lot of these bowl games they're played in stadiums that are NFL
Hmm.
stadiums, right? So I'm looking at it right now. The NFL playoffs start January 13th. That's when the playoffs started this particular year. So I think that the college football season has to be over at least the third, at least national championship game being played maybe after Thanksgiving or something, or the first week of December.
Okay.
I think that's when the season has to end. To kind of go back to what you to now, this is where again this is another hurdle right here because it's almost like what exactly are you doing? Because I know people, they're smart people, they got algorithms, they got information that they can input,
Hmm.
and it's going to be interesting to see how you actually compile a top 25 list because a lot of times preseason lists are kind of you're going to keep the same teams that may have played in the playoffs and stuff like that. So actually putting together how do you put a top 25 list together preseason because you do have to have a starting point and how far down the list does a team drop with a loss, you know what I mean,
Mm.
based on if a team is upset, you know what I mean. So I think like I said, you sold me on that. The season would have to start sooner. I think National Signing Day, I think they're moving it back. Well, the early signing day period, I think they're moving it to December. So you have a season that's concluded before early signing day and the regular signing day. And
Hmm.
so you have a situation where the schools they're free to do that. So I think it could help. The only other thing I have, shout out to my guy Daryl Page, big Miami Hurricane fan. Go check out Daryl Page. It's Talking Sports with Daryl Page. Um, he's really big on like I've seen he's done a lot of um, the USF football league and XFL and stuff like that. And so it's kind of like they play in the summer, the spring and kind of into the summertime.
Yeah.
So it's making sure that these particular things don't overlap um, too much, right? But I mean, there's going to be some overlap, and then obviously you got the baseball and stuff like that. But I do think that that would be good. Top 25,
Yeah. It'd be
because
fire.
I'm just looking at the list on my computer over here. That's why I keep kind of looking over
Don't they get two?
looking this
Don't
up.
every college football team get 2 bye weeks in the season?
Well, they getting it now.
Oh,
Yeah,
they're
they
getting
they
two
didn't.
bye weeks now. Okay. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah, they're getting it
Okay.
now. So
Okay.
just kind of looking at the top 25 right now. The number 25 team this season, according this was the final
Okay.
ranking, was Kansas State. They were 8-4, right? So that's the number 25 team. Obviously, the number one team was Michigan. Um, so
You think that would have been a good game? Let's hypothetically speaking, if that's if the tour if the format that we put down happens, the number one in the 25 team. So Michigan playing Kansas State. You think that would have been a good game, a decent game? I mean,
no,
fully
because
rostered up.
I think you have to. Somebody got to get a bye week because you've done all this work. You know what I mean? You done
So
all this work.
Michigan get the bye week.
So and with it being 25 teams,
Hmm.
I really they would get a bye week,
Okay, so
right?
Michigan get the bye week.
So
So
you
Kansas
got
playing. So who's the number two team?
so Kansas State would be playing Washington, right?
Do you think that would have been a good game?
Uh, I actually do. You know what? I actually do.
Uh-huh.
No, I actually do. I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you why. I think it's a good game because as good as Washington's offense was, their
Yeah.
defense was somewhat of an Achilles. And I think
Yeah.
with the offense that Kansas State played, kind of a power situation, I think that would have been a good game.
They
Now
should have beat
now
Texas, bro. They should have beat Texas. They should have took them Longhorns down this year, bro. I ain't gonna hold you. I seen that game, bro. The Texas beat them by the. It was some flukes, you know what I mean. That last second, touchdown. Will Howard threw that drone in there, and they picked it off in the end zone. But they was right there
yeah,
knocking on the
yeah.
doorstep.
So we just kind of run through it because, like I said, we were on this subject, right? So we will have Texas versus SMU, Liberty versus Alabama, Clemson would play Florida State. Tennessee would play Georgia. Oklahoma State would play Ohio State. Oregon State would play Oregon. NC State would play Missouri. Iowa would play Penn State. Notre Dame would play Ole Miss. Louisville would play Oklahoma. Arizona would play Arizona would play LSU. So there it is. That's the bye week right there.
That's some good matchups, bro.
So
That's some good matchups right there, bro. That's some good matchups. That sound like some good football. What y'all think in the chat, man? What y'all thinking right now, man? What you thinking, bro? I'm thinking that sound like some good football to me to start off. That's just a kickoff. That's just a warm up. That's just a warm up bowl games right there. That's the bowl games that nobody watches, but you're watching all them games. You can't tell that. You can't sit here and lie and say that what Shad just broke down and read to y'all which games would go with which that you would not be tuned into that bowl game. Everybody's watching that game. All them games we just named them was all good games. The top 25, you watching those. You're definitely paying attention to those. Um, I definitely put the link to the show in the chat if you wanted to jump up audio only, you know what I'm saying? That's cool with you. You could jump in with phone line until I get that rolling up. But look, y'all, we all welcome to come in here. This is the fans' point of view. This is what we know. You know what I'm saying? At the X's and O's. Y'all know how it go. Um, but yeah, man, like that's all good football right there, bro. When you broke down that list, that's all good football. All good football. So no matter what team that comes out of that win and that loss, and they move on to they move on to the Las Vegas Bowl, the New Orleans Bowl, whatever. And you got teams taking on, like, I don't know, you the way you just named that, right? The way that you just named that, you would have, so the winner of a Tennessee and a Oklahoma would take on the winner out of a Notre Dame and the Oklahoma State game. So then we'll have, that would be a good matchup, bro. That'd be good. Them is good matchups. Like, and and like
yeah,
I
because
said, a lot of,
you have no opt outs.
yes, and nobody's opting out. That's another great thing. Nobody's opting out. Nobody's opting out of these games. Nobody's sitting. They not opting out. They're balling. We're getting good football all through. You know what I mean? And the you know what? I might be going out on a limb saying this, but I might not be saying this too far fetched. But look, I think the reason why they try to keep in college football so soon is because if these bowl games rolled over, I don't think a lot more people be watching the uh pro football playoffs than you would watch college football bowl games. So I think that's why they don't let it coincide with the same season. You know, like a college football postseason and a NFL postseason. I think you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I think that's the way they try to set it up like that. But look, you gonna watch both. Like you would definitely watch both. It's already rolling into that, I think, with the new system. Like you got playoff games and everything. But look, man, you can't go wrong with having more football. Not in my eyes. So you just you can't go wrong with it. But you got anything to add, bro, in closing out here, man? We had a fantastic show today. I feel like, man, it was a great topic, bro.
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, again, we're just speaking hypothetically, but
Right.
sometimes when I get my mind on something, I'm trying to figure it, I try to figure it out. But like I said, I'm just wondering, exactly how many games, because obviously, let me see, you got a
How many
calendar
games
pulled,
that we would have to play?
no, you got a calendar pulled up. I might be able to pull one up because what I want to hypothetically look at
Okay.
is if we started the season at the end of July, how many games will we? Okay, I got a calendar right here. Let me see if it'll pull up.
So
I
you
got it
saying
pull
if you
up.
got
Let me
if the
see.
season started the end of July, that's what we saying, right? Now I was just going off of, you know what I'm saying, just speaking like okay, the season starts, we up on there. Now let me see if I get this pulled up right. Okay, so the end of
Oh,
July. Okay,
okay.
so you said the end of July. So
I
that
got
that's Saturday.
I got 2030. I got 2023 pulled up. So you got the
Okay.
first game kicking off July 29th, right? So it's only, and then obviously you got bye weeks. So you got 12 games. So obviously you got a bye week. So if we started July 29th, so that's one, two, three, four, five, six, seven,
Hey,
8. Wait a minute, hold up. This account throwing me off. Let me see. One, two, three, four, five,
yeah.
six, 7, 8. So basically, and then we got to squeeze in those football games. So yeah, that would hit right on the money. College football season will be over with first or second week of December.
Perfect.
And like I said,
Perfect.
the play, yeah. So it's over. They got time for signing day. You got all the bye weeks, um, logistics, because obviously, um, and that's another thing. The logistics of it all, right? Michigan's the number one overall seed, so similar to the NFL, they would get home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs, right? That's the other issue, right? Is well, maybe
Venue?
the weather won't be so bad.
You think venue would be a problem?
No, because that's the thing though, because a lot of these ball games are tied to certain stadiums. So they would have to work out deals in terms of like a percentage of a split that they would have to have between that, because no bowl games are really played in college stadiums, right? So that's a whole other thing. Like obviously the Orange Bowl is in Miami, but that's not the University of Miami's, stadium in terms of we don't own, like they don't own that stadium. That's the Dolphin Stadium, right? So
Hmm.
that's the only hurdle about that. And again, you have no opt outs. So
Right.
I think you would do that because what spring ball starts in the end of March, runs through April. So you got April, May, June. So fall camp would start in June, which really would be summer camp,
Right.
June and
And then you
July.
jumping right into it.
So you jumping right into the season. Um,
Studio
I know.
says 25 teams is a logistic nightmare. He said it's a logistic nightmare for 25 teams. Yeah, look, we speaking hypothetically, but look, I mean, they can get it. They'll be able to get that to work, but some way.
But you know what though? I'm glad Studio brought that particular point up because it goes back to a point. that I brought up. Well, not what I brought up. It was a point that was brought up on a radio show that I listened to out of Michigan,
Okay.
and they spoke about this conference realignment situation. They say what they were saying was that people look at conference realignment from an aspect of college football, but they're not thinking about the conference realignment in terms of basketball or any of these other particular sports where you could have two or three basketball games in a week. So looking at the new format, you could have the University of Miami playing a team in North Carolina one week on a Tuesday. Then you got to fly out to play Cal on a Thursday. Then you got to fly back to play a home game in Miami on a Saturday. And that's all in
Yeah.
one week. And no one's thinking about that. Now, obviously, of course, there's a lot less people on a basketball standpoint than it is a football standpoint. But but that goes back to what you were saying, and I believe you brought this up, or maybe Coach Hayes brought this up, or maybe it was even Studio One. Someone brought it up
Okay.
where you're talking about you're probably gonna have to slim down the rosters because these teams can keep 100 guys on roster. You may have to slim it down to maybe 60 guys total. That's including
Yeah.
practice
To
players
make
too.
that work.
Yeah, to make that work. So from a logistics standpoint and a flight standpoint, you have to do that, right? But obviously, this is some years in the making. But I mean, again, like we were saying, he brought up the logistics standpoint. We got Kansas State flying from Manhattan, Kansas, over to Washington. I, I don't think that's not that bad of a trip.
Nah. That's not. That's not.
It's not. That's not that bad. That's not that bad of a trip. Honestly. I mean, I could I could be wrong. You know what I
Nah.
mean? But I
They
think,
right there. That Kansas right there. Like, I mean, they on the west, they ain't too far apart,
yeah,
What,
yeah.
Iowa traveling to Texas or something like that, or Iowa traveling to what, Georgia, or you know what I'm saying? Or what you thinking?
That's what I'm saying. Looking at it, I don't necessarily see, a lot of situations where, he brought up the logistics nightmare about it. I don't
Nah.
really see too many of these teams based on matchups. A lot of because again, just looking at the top 25, right? Let's just go back to this again, right? I ain't trying to keep the show on too long,
Nah, man, we rolling,
but
bro. This is a great
but
topic.
but looking at this top 25 right here, the furthest team to the west is Washington, right? But if you look at this, I mean, Washington and Arizona, those are
Mm-hmm.
the two teams out in the West.
Yep.
Everybody else is east of the Mississippi River. So
Oh yeah.
unless Washington continues to play,
And this top
the
25, yeah.
majority, yeah, the majority of these games are going to be played
Yes.
at times where you ain't got no Pac-12 after dark. All these games are going to be played at a certain time. Now, obviously, you got to fit the games in. You can because look, because again, they already playing games on Thursday. They already playing games on Friday. They already playing games on Saturday, and premier matchups. Again, that's why I kind of say about the NFL. You may can get a couple of games on a Sunday or something like that. It just depends which those games are
Yeah.
going to be played for the NFL season. But you could get a bulk of this. But again, looking at this, the furthest teams again to the west are Washington, Arizona, and Kansas State. That's it. I mean, yeah, we got Oregon State, and Oregon. I'm sorry.
But yeah,
All right.
Oregon
Yeah.
State,
But the majority of these games, but again, a lot
Arizona.
of that stuff is going to be based on a lot of stuff is going to be based on where you are in the seeding. So if you look at it, Michigan the number one seed, Texas number three, Alabama four, Florida State five, Georgia six, Ohio State seven, Oregon is eight, right? So you got to think about how many teams will have to lose before Oregon would actually host the game in Eugene, right? Most of these games are going to be taking place in Ann Arbor, Austin, Texas, Tuscaloosa, um, Tallahassee, Athens, right? Oh, Columbus. Based on how this goes, if the favorite teams actually win the game, so you're really not flying across country like that, right? And and I figured it'll probably look the same way too, in many particular regards, because I know this will kind of do away with conference championships
Yeah.
games. Now that Some people feel that way, but I mean,
I
it
don't.
is what it is.
I mean, look, and I'm just speaking hyper. It's just hypothetically. It's just speaking that it might be moving
But you
towards.
done sold me. You done
Yeah,
sold me.
you know what I'm saying? Just what it might be moving towards, man, because of these dollars, man. It runs a lot of it runs a lot everything out here. This money rule a lot, and I'm telling y'all, and I'm saying it now, and I'm coining it. He said it right here this Saturday, the 24th, y'all, that they are going to be wanting to get up in those 12 games or the expansion. So he said Studio One says, Shad, he says, so it sounds like y'all prefer 25 teams. I don't. 16 max. What I'm saying is like, okay, 25 because 16 is four more than what they already putting in now. Now, all of, how could I say this? I'm
Hey,
saying it again,
hold up,
right?
hold up, hold up, Chucky.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hold that thought. Cause Studio's my guy, right?
Yeah.
This is my rebuttal to Studio. If you're saying 16 teams, think about this for a second, Chucky. 134 teams start
Yeah.
the
I'm
season off. Well, 110. They start the
110.
season off
Power
with
five.
an yeah, with an opportunity to try to play for a national championship.
Right.
So we've gone through 12 entire weeks of these teams jockeying for position to get into the top 25. 12 weeks. What's an additional couple of weeks to watch the top 25 teams play it out? You're not. It's not like you're not gonna watch the. It's not like you're not gonna watch the game because again, these are just games. It's treated like it's the season. They just have a bowl game attached to them. You know what I mean? That's all it is.
You know, but like, and all right, so that you look, we all, and we all. This is a safe space for us to all put us our opinions and or whatever out. That's what the fans' point of view is about, and I love it. I love all this shit. I love that. Shit. Drop a bomb for everybody about that. I love it. So we got 12 teams, y'all. Look, we are football fans that know the game. We know you know what I'm saying. We watch this day in and day out. We know what it is. I'm like, I know, I feel it, I see it coming, I foresee this coming. I know this is coming. Soon as they see how much money them 12 bowl games bring in and how many people watched it from the 12 until finish, they're going to want to put more in. And all I'm saying is after if they're going to put a couple more in, they might as well just let the top 25 go in and go, bro. I mean,
But
and then you gonna make all the bowl games. All the bowl games are gonna be watchable anyway. You know what I'm saying? And that's the main thing with me is trying to. How I came up with this is all. How do I make bowl games meaningful? What is gonna make people want to watch more bowl games? The only way people are gonna want to watch more bowl games, in my opinion, is if you make them mean something. If more bowl games are leading up into the college football playoff, that's how I got here. No other reason of being, and that's what I'm sticking on. That's my bread and butter. How do you get more bowl games to be watched? Period. That's it. How can you make more people tune in to more bowl games?
and another thing, Chuck, and let's take an intriguing matchup that Studio One would miss out on because he only won top 16.
Mm-hmm.
You miss out on Ohio State playing Oklahoma State, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ali Gordon, which y'all go check my brother video out, right? About the running backs. You miss Ali Gordon matching up against Marvin Harrison, two of the best offensive players in entire college football this past year. You missed that matchup because you only won 16 teams. Oklahoma State was number 20.
Fire.
I want to I want to see Ohio State had a great defense this year. Ali Gordon was the best running back in college football this year. I want to see Ali Gordon go against Ohio State defense.
That's
That's intriguing. But
he.
again, so let's go back now. Let's look at another matchup, right? Um, so that'll be the number 14. Alabama versus Clemson. You get that game. Clemson was number 22. Who don't want to watch Alabama play Clemson?
We all watching that. We watching every game in there. We are watching every game in there. Every game. We watching every game on there.
So I mean, not pushing back my
Blowout
guy
or not,
Studio. I understand what he's saying, but I think when you look at it
I get him, bro. I
with
get
these
exactly where you're coming
players,
from.
with these players opting out, this like I say that Florida State Georgia game 10 years ago, that's probably from a name standpoint, that's probably just name alone. That may have been the best bowl game of the year, Florida State versus Georgia. But due to
Look,
opt outs, you get 63-3.
I don't. Yeah, I
You done
mean,
sold me, dog.
it's
You done sold
physical.
me.
Hey, look, Studio also had he got came up. Hey, yo, bro, I like Studio, bro. I want him to come up in here one time. But look, he came up with this. He said, look, he ain't got no interest in the Oklahoma State game and the Ohio State game. Look, look, that would have been a good game, especially with last year's teams. Like, I'm not gonna get caught up. In my opinion, I'm not gonna get caught up in the looking at the way that Texas handled Oklahoma. I'm not gonna get caught up into that. Texas, they got hot. They got hot at the end of the season, and that's when they moved forward. They were hot. Ollie Gordon for Oklahoma State led the Big 12, and Oklahoma State is normally a passing team. Correct me if I'm wrong. Stop me when I'm wrong here, Shaq. You know what I mean? They normally pass a lot, but they were a physical team last year, very physical, and they played defense. That's pretty much of what the Big Ten is or was last year. Period. That would have been a good game, believe it or not. I mean, we got to see Ole Miss and Penn State play. I thought Ole Miss was going to just blow Penn State out. I didn't think Penn State was going to hang with them in that bowl game at all like that. I'm surprised that it ended up that way. So that wound up being a good game. But seeing games like that, man, I think a lot of these games, just put it this way, whether it would have been a blowout or not, we don't know. Maybe with a hot team, like I said, teams get hot towards the end of the season. We watching these games. That's one thing I do know. I know we are watching these bowl games. I don't care if it was called the damn Cinnamon Toast Crunch Bowl. We watching it. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? We watching
and
it.
like
We watching it.
and
If
like
you getting these teams on there, we watching these bowl games. You know what I'm saying? And that's all where we was coming at, and that's where I'm coming at. That's where this idea even started from, because these bowl games they used to mean something, but how do you get people to mean something again? It's watching them, the revenue, and these players ain't opting out. I know if you going to the pros, you about to go to the pros. You going up? All right, you about to go to the draft. Do you play in this bowl game? Do you play in a bowl game? Yeah, I'm playing in a bowl game. Why not? Because how many people is watching them? You watching that. And March Madness. I just want to pull this up real quick, and I'm gonna Google this real quick. How many viewers does March Madness get? I'm gonna see, because look, I think this is important, because you know what I'm saying. I think this is really important, because I think this would be the closest, that the equivalent of March Madness, and I harp on that. March Madness get okay. March Madness. All right, because I want to harp on that. All right, so an average of 10 million viewers tuned in to the tournament in 2023. 10 million. Even getting so per game, like I don't know, that's an average. They said average. So I don't know if that's per game or not. I'm trying to find those right there. I'm trying to find it per game. Okay. So the most watched one recently was, we'll say, 2022. That was 10.7 million people. So I'm trying to get it per game. Like, okay. All right. Cause that right there would tell me a lot. All right, so yeah, so based on matchup is where you're gonna get, how many thousand millions of people watching per game. Let's just be honest with that. But even the sorriest games is still getting a million viewers, 900,000 views. That's a lot of eyeballs watching, and especially how much we love the game of football. We watching that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And I agree with that too, Katie. I agree with that take too. What you're saying too. Bowl games don't mean that much anymore because there's too darn many. The fewer there are, the more they mean. And I get that. I get that. I get that
But
too. You know what I'm saying? I understand that
but
and
but I
break that
think
down. What you saying though? You know what I'm saying? Like, give me some more detail into why do you think, like, you know what I'm saying, the fewer they are and the more they mean. Like, you don't think if this was the way that it was set up that these games wouldn't mean anything? If
yeah.
it's meaning that the top 25 or whatever, the top 25 get to go to the national championship, they get a chance of going. You know what I mean? Like, you don't think that's interesting? Because we seen it, like we see it happen, y'all. During the season, you see a matchup, 13 going against 25, or 13 playing the 2 seed. It don't happen that often, but like I said, it's more than likely happen now, and we'll see upsets this year. We'll see them. We'll see some upsets this football season. Y'all see, we'll see them. I'm almost guaranteed. That's a guarantee. We'll definitely see some college football upsets early on this year. We will see that. I don't think there'd be an undefeated team. Do you think there'd be an undefeated team, Shed? Can you give me a guess of an undefeated team? Especially when you get in a look at how we break down these conferences, how we've been breaking down these conferences, position wise and everything else. Do you honestly believe there'd be an undefeated team? And if so, give me a couple. Name a couple.
Initially, I said I don't think it would be,
Okay, but you do
but
now.
but
Okay.
now looking at it, but I don't think the team is gonna come from the SEC or the Big Ten. I think maybe a Big 12 team maybe could come through unscathed. And kind of looking at the Big Ten, kind of
Thank you,
thinking about
studio.
it, I think um, I think it would be a Big 12 team, and quite possibly it could be an ACC team. Because Florida State went undefeated this year, so I think it would have to be from the ACC or the Big 12 if if one does go undefeated, because I think
Okay.
just the schedule itself allows for that to kind of somewhat happen.
What happened? Yeah, I get that. I get that. I get that. By the way the games are scheduled, you think somebody might go undefeated. But look, I honestly think that I don't know. It's hard for me to say that. I don't think that there's going to be, and I'm not saying that they're going to lose. Now, what I initially said is I think there's going to be a two-loss team. Like, there's going to be a lot of two losses, and I do believe there's going to be two-loss teams that's getting in. But um, I don't think there's going to be an undefeated team though. I don't know.
It's
It's
possible.
hard for me to say just looking. I mean, on paper right now, it's hard for me to say, and I would have to see how dominant people are playing during the beginning of the season, like how the team is taking over on the field and how they're playing everything else. I would have to see that then. But as of right now, just looking at the rosters, who's coming back, who's returning, if these teams that, like for instance, I think SMU was going to upset some teams in the ACC this year. I honestly do. I think SMU is going to give some people some upsets. Their quarterback Preston Stone he's good, man. He's good. He's a good all around guy. I mean, I know he's moving up in competition, but like you were saying, like that's one of them G5 type of programs or whatever that moved up, and I think that he's going to upset a couple of teams. Do I think they'll go bowling. I don't think that they'll have like you know a I don't know. If I'm going on a limb trying to say like they'll have like a 7-5 type of season in the ACC or something like that, but I do think that they're going to upset some teams though. On that in there, um, I don't think I don't. It's hard for me to say Georgia is with the schedule that they have this year and how dominant Ole Miss is looking right now. Well, on paper anyhow. Um, Texas A&M, they came back with some picks. Alabama and DeBoer, like that's what I'm saying. Like I don't. It's hard for me to see Michigan. I don't. I think Michigan to take a L to Ohio State, but then you get to looking at Ohio State, who they might lose to. Oregon. Oregon might beat them. Penn State might creep in there. Drew Aller just got a little bit of talent on him. If there is an undefeated team, I don't think that he come out of none of the major ones. The Big 12, Big 10, no. ACC no, SEC no. I think that it might come from like the MAC or like the Mountain West.
Yeah, I can see. Yeah, yeah, I can see that point. Yeah, I'm just kind of going through the archives right now, and um, yeah, I can see it. And then you
Yeah.
got like, and then you got like Notre Dame, because Notre Dame, they're not based on, because of the situation they're in, they're not gonna get those big time matchups anymore because of the expansion, unless they get in the conference. So yeah, Notre Dame is on the outside. They could, yeah. So I could see that.
This
Yeah,
this is what studio said. Shad, with the Miami schedule, we should go undefeated.
we are going undefeated. We are going undefeated.
You think so?
Yeah, we're going undefeated. Yeah, we're going
There you
undefeated.
go. There you
Because if we,
go.
because if we
He
don't,
said
it's
it.
unacceptable. Yeah, I
He
see it.
said it.
It's on wax.
It's on wax. Katie Allman said, "Ole Miss is my sleeper for the Natty." Hey yo, look, and that team is they got to get it this year, man. Like I can only imagine putting myself in the Ole Miss fan shoes. If I'm an Ole Miss fan diehard, I'm like, it's win or go home this year. We got to get it. It's you know what I mean? Because they got the team. They got
Yeah,
their quarterback back. They got their running backs. I don't think they missed a beat with Junkins. I think he was just icing on the cake for real. But that defense just Chris Paul Jr. at middle linebacker, I believe at linebacker, he is so like people give him the right rating, but they're rating other linebackers over him. The way that he played that position is phenomenal. Like and but that's what I'm saying. The SEC is so stacked up, and don't sleep on Mizzou neither over there in the SEC neither. But that's why I don't really think that when you like I said, I just said it. If there's an undefeated team, y'all, they coming out of either the Mountain West or the MAC. That's where they're coming from. But other than that, we're going to see a lot of great college football this year, and I'm excited for the season. But we're going to continue on coming up with these unique shows and everything else. But Katie Armin said something to you. Said, Shad, you in for some what the fuck Saturdays with that 12-0?
as long as it's a W at the end, that's all that
That's all
matters.
that matters.
Defeated predictions.
But man, look, I still ain't really got, I really ain't got that joint, man. But I'm ready, man. I'm ready. I still ain't got my team yet, really, or what I'm gonna lock in with. But I think I'm gonna lock in a little bit with the Longhorns. You know what I'm
Do that.
saying? And you know,
Do, yeah, do that.
you know.
Like I said, as spring gets here closer, like I said, we're gonna be, breaking down the teams. Miami. But I will go ahead and say it here. I will
Mm-hmm.
I will be I will be covering Syracuse and Wisconsin this year, along with Miami. So
Mm-hmm.
those are my squads, additional squads. So
Additionals. I can't look. I look. So I like. So I'm a rock. I gotta rock with the Buffs. Yeah, cause but gotta rock with the Buffs. I'm Longhorns, and I like what Ole Miss is cooking up, man. I
well, there
like
you
that.
go.
I like
There
what
you
Ole
go.
Miss is cooking up, man.
There go your three, and there go my three. And,
Yeah,
and,
man.
and,
So
and you
we
know what's good about that? What's good about that is I think my three better than your three.
hold up though. Hold up though. Hold up though. Why do you think which one of your three is going to be Ole Miss? Who do you put versus Ole Miss? Now, who did I
My
say again? I said, oh, now see, the Buffs, right? They in
Buffs.
rebuild mode. They're rebuilding. He's climbing that
Syracuse,
mountain right now.
Syracuse rebuilding. So there go Colorado, Syracuse.
Colorado, Syracuse. Who wins that game? Come on, man. You know Colorado got that win, bro. Come on, bro.
So then we got Wisconsin. Who you and Ole
Wisconsin
Miss?
at who? With Texas Longhorns, or you want to
No,
go with Ole Miss?
no, we're
Which one
going
they matching up with?
Ole Miss.
Ole Miss.
And we got Miami, Texas.
In Miami and Texas and the
Yeah,
Longhorns.
so when the season gets here, we're gonna keep up the record. Yeah, it's gonna be fun. We We just cracking the surface right now, but
Right.
it's gonna be fun.
Yeah, we're gonna
It's
get
gonna be
up into
fun.
it, man. You know what I'm saying? It's like that's because it is what it is out here, man. And look, man, I appreciate y'all tuning in and kicking it with me. You know what I'm saying? Well, on y'all Saturday coming up in here. The link to the show is always in the chat, y'all. If y'all ever want to jump on, audio, put your intake on. I'll give you a couple minutes to come in here and kick it with us or whatever. Or if you just rocking out, you rocking out. But look, I appreciate it, y'all. Y'all make sure that y'all tune in and watch us on Saturdays. Every Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 if you in Central, 4:30 for the Mountain, and 3:30 for the Pacific people, y'all. Peace.
Want to see Truck and Chubby live and co-host Shad? Tune in at Fans Point of View, Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3:30 p.m. Pacific Time. But in the meantime, in between time, enjoy the content. Don't forget to hit your notification bell for all updates. Thank you for watching.